Greetings, I'm Rubén Martinez, and I want to welcome you to another forum of FutureU, which focuses on neoliberalism and higher education. We are celebrating our 10th anniversary this year. I organized with some colleagues back in 2014, in the spring of 2014, to focus on neoliberalism and higher education. Why was I interested in that? Well, when I started in 1984, the chair of my department was greatly concerned about students being customers, or that language that was floating around at that time. And though I was a early non-tenured faculty member at the time, I spent the rest of my 6, 7 years getting tenured, promoted, and all of that stuff. But I never lost that notion of students as customers. In 1991, I entered the administrative ranks and stayed in various roles until 2022. And throughout that period, especially during the early part, as an administrator, I had to handle a great number of budget cuts. The universities were being cut back from state funding and so on. And so just kind of an endless process of budget cutting, and I recall that, and it made me think more about what exactly was going on. This was the time of globalization, the New World Order, and all of that kind of language. And it just kind of seemed at the time that we were kind of evolving, society was evolving into a new order. That's how it felt like, but at a global level, and that there was very little or nothing that we could do about it. It kind of consumed us in terms of just the magnitude of change that was taking place. But looking back on it, I mean, it was all policy driven. It was not, society evolving on its own, but it was all policy driven. And I think it was Margaret Thatcher who told us that we could do nothing about it because there was no alternative to what was going on. But in fact, there is an alternative. And so what we find here today is sort of the apex of that movement that was taking hold. We decided in 2014 to address, continue to address these issues following the conference, and we had not only the FutureU Forum as a spin-off, but in 2021 we also published a special issue of the Social Justice Journal, including some of the work by participants at the conference. The conference itself included scholars from the West Coast, from the Midwest, from the Southwest, from the East Coast, and several from Canada. It was very well attended. We had administrators, and a lot of the people at the conference presented their research on what was going on. I was pushing for that is because I really wanted to understand what was going on. My work had been focused on minorities, and from a perspective of conducting research from a framework of positionality, I tended to look out upon the larger social order from the location of minorities so I could reveal the structure of power. And as I continued to do that, I decided that neoliberalism had taken hold, and that because there was very little discussion among faculty about it, basically what had taken place is the order, the new order had us with our noses to the grindstone so closely we couldn't see the larger picture. And so I decided that it was important to have that broader conversation. And then Bani Bukaru, who was a colleague from the College of Communications and a greatly competent technician with technology, pushed us to continue those conversations and to move it to Zoom, which we did. Unfortunately, she passed away in 2015, and I'm very grateful that Frank Fear, my colleague, stepped up to handle the technological aspects of the endeavor, and he and I have been working together ever since. So the purpose of the forum really is to get people to engage in dialogue, thoughtful dialogue about neoliberalism and higher education. Of course, noting that neoliberalism is a broad social movement, and that higher education really is the recipient of some of the changes ushered in by the larger movement. In other words, on the receiving end of it. What I have seen is that neoliberalism is a social movement, particularly as we were getting close to 2016, 2018, and so on, is that it had neoliberalism had engendered a space for a lot of other social movements to begin taking hold. One of them, of course, has been the militia. We've had the Christian nationalists come up. We have had the neoliberal libertarians, out there, and we've had the white supremacist movements all come together and be part of the neoliberal coalition that Trump brought together. And so that began to have some radical changes in terms of what neoliberalism started out as. So one of the things that I've emphasized when I look at neoliberalism is radical individualism, and that was, part of higher education becoming a private good rather than a social good. And that's why the states began to, defund really higher education, passing on all the costs to the parents. But another component of it is small government, which, when this broader coalition began to take hold, actually morphed into anti-government. So we're now in this moment where a lot of the followers of Trump really are anti-government. And so what we're seeing is the decimation of the federal government in practically all the different sectors of the government. So to a great extent, what has happened is that the movement has lost its own control and become part of a broader populist movement that has a lot of fascist tendencies because of the different threads of the movement and the coalition. And so what we're seeing really is the movement toward autocracy, and part of that is to control. There's autocrats always wanting to control the media, always wanting to control the public discourse, silencing critics and so forth. And as we've seen in the past, some of the earliest ones that are to be taken out are the intellectuals, because they tend to talk back. And so what we're seeing then is this movement toward, limiting higher education in terms of what they call, ideological socialization and brainwashing of students and so forth. But it's basically all a ruse, recognizing that it is important to restore democracy, to defend democracy, and to stand up. And I'm really proud of all of those who are out in the public spaces protesting what is going on, because ultimately Americans are the last defense of democracy as we stand today. Uh, there's a couple of things we need to acknowledge. One, that neoliberalism is highly embedded in our institutions today, but it is also highly embedded ideologically in the minds of Americans. They think like this now because we're now in the third generation of kids who have been raised under this model. And, when I give presentations, uh, guest presentations to students, some of them come up afterwards and say, I didn't realize I'm a neoliberal, that I'm thinking in neoliberal terms. Um, but in terms of the opposition to Biden, one of the approaches of the transformation of the social order by neoliberalism has been disruption. In fact, it's the lexicon, it's entered the lexicon so much that the Nobel Prize in economics went to a person who has written about creative disruption in technology, right? You disrupt the economy technologically, but what are you going to do with the people that you're displacing, right? These are questions that we have to address societally, society-wise, because you can't just have technology, especially now with AI, doing everything for us. There'll be no workers in the warehouses anymore because robots are, sending you your stuff and so on. We have to keep that in mind. In terms of what type of economy we need for the future, keeping the importance of the improvement of the human condition as we move forward, right? That's the baseline. Um, so, the current focus on the market is all about, as my colleagues have said, it's all about money. And what we have seen is the hollowing out of the middle class, and the poor are getting poorer and the rich are getting super rich. I mean, we're getting ready to have someone become a trillionaire. That's an amazing amount of money. So one of the things that we've been doing really is describing the context in which we find ourselves. And your question about, what can be done, really is quite important. From my point of view, people need to understand the historical moment in which we live. They need to understand that this is not ordinary times, this is not a stable time, and that silence is not a strategy. We have to really understand what's going on, step up, and do something. So usually when there's change happening in society, there's basically, four ways that people respond. One of them is people see it and embrace it. And there are those who see it, do not embrace it, but seek to intervene and to change it or shape it. There are those who see it and do nothing. Unfortunately, we might have a lot of faculty who do that. And then the fourth one consists of those who just wonder what happened. And obviously, we want to be in the second category. That is, we know that it's happening. We want to intervene. We want to change it. So what is happening with regard to higher education? There is an assault on academic freedom, and there is an assault on the autonomy of the university. This is very clear, and there's sort of a very heavy-handed way by which that is occurring. At this point, at this historical moment, it's important that everyone who is related to the university, and even the public at large, need to understand that everyone must stand up and defend academic freedom and the autonomy of the university. That includes students. In the 60s, students were very active in making sure that there was more freedom. Faculty need to step up. If we can move them out of that third category. Staff are very important. I know that librarians in some places are not considered faculty, or they're considered staff, but I regard them as, the great defenders of academic freedom, particularly in this time of book banning and censorship and so forth. And so, that's an area that a lot of us can get behind. And then, of course, the administration has the responsibility of defending academic freedom, and some of them are. Some of them are capitulating, some of them are doing nothing, wondering, what if I sit this out and it'll just go away? I don't know what it is they're thinking. And then, of course, the trustees. One of the things that concerns me is the trustees are not stepping up.